Hey everyone, how's it going? Happy Friday at time of recording. Um, I am your host Chris, bringing you another episode with Gaming in the Keats here. Um, and yeah, this is the game day friendly number two. Um, so we're at Mark Schwerlohn's house. I'll never be able to pronounce your name, Mark, correctly. I apologize. But yeah, we're just having some good old barbecue, some scotch, just a relaxing time. And now I'm playing my club mate. It's going to be a combination of actually Mark plays first, then James, and then Mike, and then James again. So this is just a rotating round of people playing the Saurian Ancients list, created by my clubmate Mike. But yeah, so it will be an interesting time for sure. That being said, let's get into the list. So this is the list from um, what Mark had actually posted in our Discord channel. So I had made changes in our first battle report, and the real only big change I made was I just changed up the Temple Exarch build and changed the auxiliaries. So this one that you see is the original one. So what Mark did was he had the auxiliaries not be scoring, and then he had this build on the Temple Exarch, so that's the one with paired weapons and Touch of Greatness versus the Halberd and the Divine Attacks. Um, but other than that, it's like basically the same list. Someone pointed out in the previous comments that I can't switch out Foresight for rerolls to hit for apprentices, and I had to like go back to the rules and double check that and then triple check that for the wording because you have to look in two different places for this rule, and sure enough they are indeed correct, so that's my fault. I do change it out in this matchup, but spoiler alert, it doesn't really affect anything for the game. But no, that is my fault. I'm not used to playing with apprentices. In fact, this is the first time I've actually played with an apprentice this entire 3.0 version. So totally didn't realize you could not switch out the spell. Um, but regardless, but what I do make the change here is I switch out the Dance Macabre for the Dread Elf Hereditary on my master. Everything else is going to be the same stuff. The Beastmaster on the dragon because it's fun. And then you got a Kraken Hydra combo, 10 Judicators, which is pretty cool. Regular, Temple Acolytes, so these are the combat ones, which I do really like the combat Acolytes a lot. They're just a really fun unit. I enjoy them a lot. They're very fast. They can just harass people, and then when you lose them, it's really, I mean, all of our stuff is more expensive in terms of like uh, chaffing units, but it's not like the end of the world if you lose them. Corsairs are fun. I have a little more DACA in here with the auxiliaries, and I'm actually enjoying this core setup a lot with the big unit, well, medium-sized unit for spears, and then the smaller unit of spears here. That's they've been I've been enjoying them. So this will be my last run with Dread Elves. So I'm switching over to demons after this battle report. Just trying to get used to the book. But yeah, I thought I'd bring out some models that I haven't used in quite a long time. So the dragon, the hydra, and the kraken are making their final hurrah for now. So we're using the same map as last time. Also, spoiler alert, we still forget to use the arcane ruins. It's just like such a superfluous sort of like fun little, I guess, twist to the game, if you will, but we just forgot. You'll also notice I don't have my opponent's list. Yeah, we were playing really loose on this game day, and like I just didn't have his list. So that's okay. I'll run through it in deployment. But yeah, so speaking of which, we have ancient fortifications again. The deployment is spearhead, so that's the divide the map into thirds, and do choose your vanguarding section. The primary was secure target, and then my secondary was enslave and ransom. So I have to get like 4 little tokens worth of like killing or running down stuff, and then Saurian Ancients is stand firm, so I have to choose two of my opponent's scoring units, rank and file, and I have to effectively, my opponent has to keep both of them alive by the end of the game. So you'll see which ones I choose. All right, so deployment. My opponent won the roll-off, so he got to make me choose sides. So I chose this side, the side I was already on, and I chose this side as my spearhead, mainly because I didn't want to have this water disrupt any sort of like scoring units if I was going to be approaching this side of the board, especially because the spears are so long, elongated anyway. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to choose this side to hopefully draw him out to try and contest this secure target and see what happens. So then my opponent dropped for first, and then he chose his vanguarding side in the middle. So this is Mark's deployment. So he has pterodons off to the side. He has 2 salamanders right here. He has a big unit of 6 ramphidons. He has 20 Saurian warriors with the Cayman. It's the far-seeing mastery with a smokestone and the tablet. So this is alchemy, a master of alchemy, which really is a big counter to my list. And then we got 8 Cayman warriors. We got the combat legend. That this guy sucks. I hate him so much. He's the combat legend, and he's a glory hunter. So if he wins in a challenge, he counts as automatically completing the secondary. We got 12 mystics with a Scar veteran in there with Eldritch inscriptions, and we got 3 Stygiosaurs. These are the Stygiosaurs right here. They are scoring, and then we got some skinks with magnetic short bows. The 2 units I choose for stand firm are the Caymans and the Stygiosaurs. I figured my opponent's really just not going to let me get to the Saurian warriors, so I just decided if my opponent does want to get on one of the objectives, he's going to have to commit one of these 2 units, and that way I can hopefully pounce upon him with all my stuff. So from left to right here, we have the Hydra angled out this way, trying to anticipate the Vanguard and the super long movement here. We have Corsairs in the water, taking a bath. The Hydra's also in the water, importantly, to mitigate any sort of alchemy coming in from the Toad if he wishes to go after the Hydra. We got 15 spears, the big unit of spears with my Exarch. We have the 15 auxiliaries right here with my Wizard Master of Evo. We have the dragon behind the Impassable. We have the Kraken. Mr. Cuddles 2 is his name. We got the Acolytes right here. And then the Judicators right behind the Acolytes, trying to avoid being shot by the magnetic shortbows, and they've already vanguarded at this point. Unfortunately, you'll see the mistake I made with the dragon. Once again, it's the second sort of vanguarding mistake I do is I try to get the dragon as best I can behind this Impassable to hide him. But unfortunately, what I didn't anticipate was because the Vanguard maneuver here with all the center units, which in a normal deploying situation, I would have been able to hide this dragon, but because of that extra 6 inches Vanguard, he's able to Vanguard and then get in line of sight of the dragon. So you'll see that happen in my opponent's turn 1. Okay, so my opponent moves up his soul. He does get in line of sight of the dragon. He's trying to keep me just outside of charge range. I do have the dragon peeking out, so the dragon can see these Cayman warriors. So he's respecting the dragon charge. So yeah, my opponent decides to not take advantage of the space I left here with the ramphidons. This is something I could have prevented. I could have angled the spears to face out this way to But my opponent, this is now James's movement, so James is taking over, and he actually moved these guys back to kind of cover this objective here. In this way, the Salamanders, unfortunately, they were not able to get in range of the Corsairs yet. And then he chooses to not move these guys. He's just outside of charge range of Corsairs right here as well. So he's going to try and like plink some wounds off. But yeah. So in the magic phase, I am punished for this mistake with the dragon. Basically, he's giving me a choice. Either I stop Molten Copper or I stop Quicksilver Lash on the dragon from the Alchemy Frog. So I choose to stop the more damage dealing one, but because of that, he gets the Molten Copper through. He maxes out on the wounds and puts 4 wounds on the dragon straight away. Okay, no other range damage had occurred. So in my turn, my opponent gives me a 5 on Swift Stride with the Skinks from my Acolytes, because the Acolytes do charge quite a long ways. And I decided to take it. I felt like it didn't really punish me one way or the other to fail the charge. Like, I would be outside of charge range from anything here. So I decided to just push that unit back with the Acolytes. Like, I have time to be able to move up the Judicators onto this objective, and then the Kraken is, of course, zoning his scoring unit from getting there as well, so he can't just march up onto it anyway. So yeah, I take the charge. It's, of course, a failed charge. And yeah, I move the dragon directly behind the Impassable, trying not to make the same mistake again, so he can't just pinpoint the dragon with his magic missiles. I'm respecting the distance here with the Caimans and the Caiman combat legend. I start fanning out my spear units, just so if he wishes to push up on me, it's going to expose a flank to them, hopefully, if he chooses to do that. I move up the Corsairs. I'm just going to try and take some pot shots on the Salamanders to hopefully reduce their firepower. And then the Hydra starts turning inwards towards this way. I'm just going to say I don't really care about Pterodons. They're really not that great in combat. So I'm just moving the Hydra this way to start threatening the flank of his Saurian warriors and start giving his frogs something to think about. That being said, in my shooting or magic phase, I do kill off a Caiman warrior, which is good with the Wizard Master here with a Touch of the Reaper, and then I do get a -1 resilience off of them as well. My opponent stops the random movement, or no, excuse me, I apologize. My opponent stops the hereditary onto the Caiman warriors, and I do get another, I think I got a -1 resilience off on this guy, or off on this unit, so I am able to put in 1 or 2 more wounds onto this unit, so it's starting to get whittled down. I'm pretty happy about that. And then shooting here into the Corsairs, I put 2 wounds on a Salamander, but I don't kill a base. So I'm about to receive a lot of firepower back. Okay, in my opponent's turn 2, my opponent is able to fly and maneuver. He drops some rocks on the Corsairs, only kills 1 of them, thankfully, and then flies over here, outside of line of sight of the Hydra. I mean, these guys are just so much more maneuverable than the Hydra since I'm no longer light troops, so I'm just kind of like, yeah, you're just, you're going to be able to do that at this rate if I wish to push forward. He does turn his attention to the Hydra now, which I'm very thankful for, since the dragon's hiding and he can't really see the Kraken anyway as well. So the only real main target for the alchemy is the Hydra, which thankfully I am in the water, so it takes away the flaming attacks. So I will get my fortitude save against it. This is what both my opponent and I believe to be correct. If we're wrong, then yeah, let us know in the comments. So let's see, and then yeah, the Skinks rally over here. He's kind of creating this arc here. The legend is able to squeak outside of line of sight from the Kraken, but you know, he's still pushing up a little bit, and he's starting to threaten my wizard bunker, so I do need to be very conscious about that. In the magic phase, because of the water mitigation, his alchemy actually only does 1 wound to the Hydra, which I will happily take. And then in shooting, this was pretty wild. He completely whiffs. When I say whiffs, I mean we're talking about shooting into magnetic. We're talking about magnetic short bows and 2 flamethrowers into the Corsair unit, and there are 3 remaining. Luckily, they passed their check, but the fact that there are 3 remaining was a whiff. Like, this unit should be dead, and you'll see it come up later. But they're around for now. Alright, my turn too. Because there was 3 left, I was able to pull in a way that allowed a charge into from the Hydra, Mr. Cuddles, into the Salamanders. If my opponent fled, then the Corsairs could have also charged them and caught them. So my opponent just elected to hold, and then he does a stand and shoot. Because the Hydra is resilience 6 now, not 5, the Hydra just walks through the fire and does not care. So the Hydra takes no wounds on the stand and shoot. So yeah, charge the Salamanders. I'm still trying to fan out with the spears here. Again, trying to anticipate an inevitable push with the Caimans and the Legend, and because he also has like a chaffing maneuver with these Ramphidons if he so wishes, because these guys are super fast as well. So I move the Kraken in a way where I'm outside of charge range from these guys, because these guys still have quite a fair amount of attacks here. I don't want to just give him the charge. Or maybe I'm like saying it's a 6. I can't remember what the distance was here. But what I do end up doing here is creating an arc so the Cayman Legend can't just like chill behind here and threaten my units. And if the Cayman Legend were to come here, then I just charge with the spears and just combat res him to death. And hopefully put in a couple wounds, and then like I would just decline the challenge with my Exarch. So yeah, that would be my plan there. Then, oh gosh, in the magic phase, I get 2 wounds with one of my damage spells on the Cayman Elder, so that's looking good for me there. Shooting doesn't do anything. And then the Hydra, in pure Hydra fashion, kills enough of the unit to cause them to auto-break, and then they are destroyed given the percentage of wounds taken. So they are decimated and then are destroyed, so the Hydra just turns to face, and the Corsairs, of course, keep these. I did a chaffing maneuver with the Corsairs so that like he couldn't just countercharge the Hydra here. So if he charges, it's a win for me, because now he's not using his magic missiles, and he's just killing this small little chaff unit without any overruns. Alright, so in my opponent's turn 3, he doesn't take the bait and charge the Corsairs. Instead, he turns to face the Hydra, because he just does not want that Hydra in his flank, which is a good thing for me, because now the Hydra is doing exactly what it's meant to be doing, which is taking away pressure from this side of the board here. So I'm happy about that, to be honest. He does kind of fan out these Caimans, so he's trying to make sure that my spears are in his front, but what it ends up doing is it actually allows the dragon to have line of sight onto the Caimans, which is pretty nice. The Kraken also has line of sight onto the Caimans, which I believe is still a flank. So I've kind of put his Caimans now in a interesting position here. And he has come forward enough to give me a 6 charge with the spear unit here as well. My opponent, of course, backs up with the Stygia Stores, respecting the Kraken, making sure I don't have a charge here. So my opponent is just, again, keeping the Kraken honest. In my opponent's magic phase, I'm actually able to stop his magic spells onto the Hydra, and or the spells that he does get off on the Hydra, the damage, it doesn't go through. He fails to wound the Hydra, which was big. So the Hydra still has only taken 1 wound. So I am very thankful here. Also, if you notice, he moved over his Ramphidons, so if I do end up charging in with the Hydra into his spears, his Ramphidons will counter the Hydra. So I got off a little lucky here in this Saurian Ancients turn 3. Also, as you can also see, he moved the Pterodons. They are facing out into the middle, so I can't see him, but he can also not see me. So he's trying to threaten my rear. He's trying to threaten my rear if I choose to advance forward. Okay, Dread Elves turn 3, and now things are getting spicy here. So, I'm going to do an order of operations as you see here. The Kraken charges the Cayman unit. Okay, so my opponent holds. He passes his terror. Then the Dragon, who could see the Caymans, charges the Cayman unit. He chooses to hold. Now, here's where I think I make a bit of a mistake. I now charge with the Spear unit. They needed a 6, but it does become maximized because it's a combo charge for the Dia Warfare thing. And now my opponent chooses to flee. This is very important because the Corsairs that were right here could charge past and then charge the Cayman unit here, because you only get one flee maneuver in the new edition. And so I asked my opponent, would he had chosen to flee had he known that, had seen that move, and he still said yes, because the Corsairs, it wasn't a guarantee charge for the Corsairs anyway, but the Corsairs, as you can see, they make the charge on the connecting Caymans here, and that actually stops his stand firm, and it will secure my enslave and ransom all at the same time. So Corsairs right now, for walking through a whole bunch of fire, are MVPs. The Kraken cannot direct into the Elder. He's too far away. Same with the Dragon. So they just fail forward. Everyone just fails forward, as you can see here. So then you can see in order to block the charges, I use the Acolytes here to chaff both the Stidiosaurus and his Mystics, and then the Judicators are able to walk up just within 6 inches of this objective to secure me my first point of secure target. In the magic phase, let's see. In the magic phase, I think I am able to get one more wound off on the Elder with some range damage, but other than that, we are good to go. Okay, my opponent's turn 4. You can see he charges the Mystics and the Stidiosaurs. Actually, to be fair, no, I think he only charges the Mystics, and what he does is he reforms the Stidiosaurs so they are outside of line of sight of the Kraken, so I don't have a charge on them. So he charges the Acolytes here. He moves over the Skinks to finally get rid of the Corsairs here. He backs off with the Cayman Elder, so he can start healing him. Let's see, because his spells, he could heal from the Mystics. He took Fountain of Youth on these guys. So, whichever the healing spell was on the Mystics there. What else? Oh yeah, Ramphidons come over here to threaten the Hydra in case I come forward. He's still focused on the Hydra, which is still great. Like, I'm loving that. I'm loving that my opponent is looking at the Hydra. He now threatens the flank of my spear units here with the the Pterodons, and he does drop some rocks, as you can see, and kills a couple of spears here. In my opponent's magic phase, I think my opponent has another low magic phase. Does not get any magic off on the Hydra because I let the healing spells go, so he is able to heal up the Elder, but I stopped the damage spells coming onto the Hydra. So all in all, I'd say still a pretty successful dispelling phase, because I had to make the decision, right? I didn't feel like trading the Hydra just yet. I still needed my opponent focused on the Hydra. And of course, yeah, he gets rid of the Acolytes and reforms, no problem. Alright, in my turn 4, I decide to charge the Kraken into the Mystics. I didn't realize at the time that there was a character in this unit. I'd totally forgotten. So, and we had to double check. The Kraken actually does D3 wounds against heights 3 and 5 and has hatred against heights 3 and 5. So, this is just a stupid decision here. And what I missed was, since I could it was an auto in for the Kraken charging this unit, that actually would have allowed the Judicators to charge the Stygiosaurs. And I didn't see it. So, looking back, now granted, I don't think this was an auto, or this probably was like a 5 maybe. But it was certainly doable, and I really wouldn't have been punished too hard. Because I still would have secured the objective having failed it, and then I would have taken his scoring unit to be able to score this objective anyway if the Judicators made it in. So either way, this is just a missed opportunity here. Dragon comes around to support the Judicators. I push up the spears now, trying to be aggressive, taking board control in the center now with the... I reform the auxiliaries and get the Outcast in range and line of sight of some more magic missiles onto this guy right here. Yep, Hydra is just backing up. I'm just going to try and breath weapon this unit just to kill a model or two. I don't need to charge into this. I don't need to charge into this unit. So I'm just conserving the points of the Hydra and just saying, like, I'm still going to be a threat, and if you turn to face me, then yeah, I'm gonna force you to put something in front of the Hydra to prevent you from preventing the Hydra from coming into your flank. So that was my thought process there. In Magic, this is where, again, the whole rerolls to hit thing goes off. So I shouldn't have been able to do this, but I cast rerolls to hit on the Kraken, and then my opponent stops damage missiles coming in onto the Elder. So there you go. And serves me right for not being able to do this. So the Kraken only kills like 3 of these guys, and these guys put like freaking 4 wounds back on the Kraken. Like, I think it was probably the character because he had Eldritch Inscriptions. That guy just just roasted the Kraken. It was like Eldritch Inscriptions on a great weapon. So the Kraken, ironically, has a charge and 3 wounds and a rank. And then this guy puts 4 wounds back on me, and he has a banner in the unit. So it's a push. It's a complete push. Alright, so my opponent chooses to charge the flank of the Kraken. I don't blame him. He reforms the Saurus unit right here. And he's able to do this. So check this out. I thought I was safe with the dragon. Turns out I'm not. He was able to reform and move in a way to squeak a line of sight onto the dragon, and I was like, oh crap. So that was, again, my fault of not utilizing this terrain correctly here. My opponent puts the Ramphidons right in front of the Hydra because this unit has a higher agility than the Hydra, has Hatred, Fury, and Lethal Strike. And I was like, oh crap. Okay. So yeah, he's just like, sure, charge me. I don't care. The Pterodons fly into the woods. They drop some rocks, but they also lose 1 from dangerous terrains because these are not Forest Strider. So they do kill a few more spears, but they pass their panic, no problem. And yeah, so that's how it's looking there. And Molten Copper does it. 3 wounds left on the dragon. He does the 3 wounds he needed to kill the dragon. I stopped the other damage spell, again making me have to make that choice. And he gets it. He gets the Molten Copper on the dragon, so I can only blame myself for that one. So he kills the dragon. Goodbye. Alright, so my turn 5. I ummed and awed about this one here. Originally I just decided to back up the Hydra. But then I was reminded that the Hydra's still resilient 6, and so I was just like, you know what, screw it. It's a fun game, and I asked my opponent, do you mind if I just charge this unit? And my opponent was like, yeah, sure, go for it. And so I decided to charge it and just see what we both wanted to kind of see what would happen here with the Ramphidons and the Hydra. Because I'm resilient 6, he still needs 6s to wound me, even though the 6s go straight through. So I'm just kind of like crossing my fingers to see if he doesn't spike. Yeah, in the meantime, the Judicators fail a charge onto the Stygiosaurs, which is a bummer. But, oh well. The auxiliaries reform, and I put my, Exarch is right there, because my plan here is just to say, I'm just going to missile you to death, and hopefully I get the points. My spears back up, or not back up, they turn around and then move this way to get out of line of sight of the Ramphidons, because I don't want to give up their points. And yeah, my spears are just like chilling in the center, really. Yep, in terms of magic and missiles, I am able to kill the Ramphidon, or not the Ramphidons, the Pterodons, no problem. So that was great. And then I also, because I had a potion, oh god, whatever you call it, because I had a spell scroll, I decided to pop my spell scroll and put random movement onto his Stygiosaurs. So just the 2d6 version, so I'm pretty happy about that. That being said, I think he needs either an 11 or a 10 to get into the Judicators. So we'll see about that. And this is the last picture of the game. The Hydra takes 2 wounds in return. My opponent kind of failed to wound the Hydra. Again, that resilient 6 really kicked in, so he only got the 2 6s, even with the hatred and the fury and everything. The Hydra just beat the unit and ran them down, and I needed, I think, an 11 to get into the flank of his Saurus Warriors, but no, the Hydra, Mr. Cuddles, does not. And at this point, we decided to call it because we had a long drive back to Baltimore, so, and it was a Sunday night, so we just decided to call it there. Ended at turn 5. We did roll the random movement just to see if the Stygiosaurs would have made it into the Judicators, but they did not. They rolled a 4. So there you have it, friends. And there you have it, folks. At the end of turn 5, it ends up being a 13-7 to the Dread Elves. So that is including the primary and the secondary. So I won the primary with secure target, and then I also got my secondary. So the difference, Saurian Ancients, they took 1505 from me, and then I only got 1107, so it made it an 11-9 to the Saurian Ancients. But then me winning the primary and my secondary flips it to a 13-7. So, yay! The Dread Elves get one last victory before they are put on the shelf. Good game, James. Thanks for a really fun game, and also playing Mike and Mark at the same time. So it was like playing 3 people at once at one point. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I lost the Dragon, the Corsairs, the Acolytes, and the Kraken. And then my opponent lost the Caimans, the Ramphidons, and the Pterodons. So just some brief post-game thoughts here I have. Just on the macro side of things, I was thinking that my list in this matchup does have the advantage on both the primary and the secondary, just because it's secure target. My opponent has to commit his 3 scoring unit, or one of the 3 scoring units, and then 2 out of those 3 has to be one of his stand firm units. And that being said, it actually punishes my opponent. Like his stand firm kind of punishes him for securing. So, and given the fact that I can actually, I felt like I could contest those objectives pretty well and keep him back with my units. I felt pretty confident in being able to get the primary and the secondary. And then my goal, I guess a macro thing that I'm happy I did this, and it seemed to work in my favor this time, was deploying my different threats, like the Hydra and the Kraken and the Dragon, on different sides of the board, just because alchemy counters my list and those single models really, really well. So for doing that forces that alchemy missile machine to like turn and be facing one way but not the other, and so it's just I think I was happy with myself in making my opponent make some tough decisions in terms of where to face the Anarch. In terms of micro things, though, like I was really struggling with deploying the dragon this weekend and like trying to hide the dragon behind the impassable because of all the ranged and damaged missiles, and so that kind of also it shows you kind of the weakness of that type of model because it's not light troops, and so I really had to like plan and measure the movement, and it was like I just wasn't used to it, and so it was forcing me to make mistakes. So the inexperience with using a model like that, I think, kind of came through there. I got lucky with the Corsair surviving, not gonna lie, that's just dice, and so I was happy that I was able to put them into a position that like really solidified, I think, my win in this game. And then, yeah, I was thinking I didn't need to charge the altar unit into the Caimans, because what I could have done, for example, is just say the dragon goes in and the Kraken goes in, and then I get an overrun onto that Caiman Elder as well. So I still take the Caimans with the Kraken and the dragon combined, and then I get that overrun into that Elder with both units, with the way that my opponent had positioned the Caiman Elder. So I was very, very happy about what I could have done in that moment, but yeah, charging the spears was not necessary. And then, yeah, at the very end, I threw away the Kraken. Like, that was just stupid. I just shouldn't have charged the Kraken into the Mystics. Like, that was just dumb. Because he just got, like, eaten. And that, of course, knowing that, like, if I was going to do that, like, I needed to have capitalized on that opportunity to at least charge the Judicators into the Stygiosaurs. But I didn't. So that was a nice little mistake there. And, of course, just remembering that, no, apprentices cannot switch out the spell. That's a reminder for me here. Apprentices cannot do that. Anyways, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it if you've made it this far. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps. I don't know, just get the videos out there at this rate, because, like, it's so strange with the algorithm. Sometimes it's just like, depending on when I post the video, is like, oh, everyone is viewing it at once, versus just like no one's viewing the video. So I'm like, oh gosh, I'm trying to figure out this whole thing. But regardless, no, I appreciate y'all just interacting, commenting, just being there. It's awesome. It's great. And I enjoy making these videos. So thank you guys for supporting. Until the next one, ciao for now, y'all.